So I want to say thanks for coming by today. I really appreciate it. You being the first of the podcast. That's great.
It's cool to be here. I love being the first for many things. So
yeah, right on.
Let's get it going.
Which was great because you actually reached out to me, which was a cool experience. Like normally I've followed somebody, listened to their music. So for this, it was great because I got to go through like your discography and sort of go from A to B, which was a nice sort of experience of sort of listening to your growth as an artist. It was cool.
Yeah, I guess that must be kind of interesting. Like, I guess what you are is you kind of reach out and talk to people. But I saw you were like listening to me, and I was like, no, I mean, it's worth a shot. Let's see.
I always give like the people, like if anyone requests it, like, yeah, you're hungry, man, let's do it. Yeah, which is good. I mean, because you've come a long way since the days of 500 plays and just little bits on SoundCloud,
Yeah, I think everybody has that journey where it's like, oh, I got a follower.
Yeah,
I
right.
got 50 plays.
Right.
This is going somewhere.
And that must be a cool experience though. Like I've never as someone on the other side of the music industry, like I've never really had that experience of growth. That's pretty cool.
It's pretty interesting. Like I mean, because the whole reason I started making music was like in spite of somebody. I knew a friend in high school, and he was making like dubstep rap stuff, and I was like, man, like you're such an asshole.
Yeah, right.
I can make a song better than
that.
Yeah. And then my friend was like, well, do it, and I'm like, okay. And this was like maybe grade 9 or 10.
Yeah, a few years ago. Yeah.
And so I just I downloaded Magic's Music Maker 12. And it had like a bunch of pre-made loops. Yeah. And I just like chopped the loops together. And I was like, sweet, like maybe this would go on SoundCloud. Maybe I'll be like a DJ now.
One day, yeah, who knows?
Yeah, this is how it starts.
And then what? It's got to be at least 4 years now down the road?
Well, it's been since that day, like maybe been about 8 years.
Okay, wow. So you've been at it for a while, yeah.
Yeah, I got really into it. Like I purchased Ableton in like maybe the spring of like 2013. Yeah. So I've been actively doing like music stuff for like about 4 years.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Right on. So I mean, would you say that? I guess you started off at sampling. Are you now more instrumentation based, like actual MIDI keyboards and that sort of stuff?
More so that way, yeah. Like I used to be, a sample based guy where it's like, oh, I don't know how to play piano, so I'll take this and this and bam. But then I was like, that's not authentic. Let's do real piano. And I was like, well, I don't know how to play.
That's as you can see, I've walked down that path too. Yeah. How was the journey of like teaching yourself piano?
The journey was like, it was frustrating at first because I was like, how does this chord sound like this? Like I'm holding my fingers there, it's not doing it. Yeah. That was frustrating. The second part that I would say is probably like the biggest leap to get over is to get out of C major scale.
Yes, right?
I cannot stop going back to C.
C and like man. Just happy with those white keys, right?
White keys, and it's like, ooh, maybe I'll throw in a black one, and it's like everything's thrown out.
It doesn't sound right now. It's like, well, how do I make that work everywhere else, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, man, like I want to try something dark, and it's like, oh, it just becomes happy,
playful again, right?
So
and then it's like, now I got to go learn A minor. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So like, what I would do is purposefully, like, whatever I was doing in Ableton, I would go to like the pitch, and I'd turn down my keys like 1 or 2 semitones. So even if I'm playing in C,
you're actually playing
note.
Cool.
Yeah. So then I would kind of tune that to my ear, and when I heard that again, I'm like, okay, so where was the key? Like,
what did it sound like? Yeah.
And then over time, I kind of became more used to it, and now I have a good idea on where the keys are. I still have to spell it out when I play. Yeah. But
do you do the labeling the keys like A or this is C, and that way when you're playing like, oh, here, this is the C key.
Yeah. I almost did that. I was thinking about it, and then I got too complicated because I was going to do like color coding and I was going to do like organizing, and I'm like, nah, let's just remember the narrow black ones and then the white ones. That's like D E. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, we'll just go with that.
Right on.
So it's been a decent leisure experience. I haven't like pressed myself to spend like 12 hours on a piano, but when I do, I learn new things and it feels good. So
yeah, that's what it's all about, and it's a lot of fun, right?
Totally, yeah. Like I mean, the sampling stuff was great because it's like a good architecture to build off of, but doing this piano stuff was like, it's like next level.
How many songs do you think you want to close the door, by the way?
Yeah, sure.
How many songs do you think you've written now? Like 8 years, 3-4 years of actual like more focus based, but man, you gotta have a fairly decent library from at least what I've listened to, and then whatever else is in the backlog didn't finish.
Yeah, so you mean like all my tracks?
Yeah, I mean like in terms of like sitting down in front of a piano and writing song after song. I mean, you've probably got a fairly big catalog. What would you sort of peg that as?
I would say probably in the 400 or 500.
That's good, man. That's super impressive.
I mean, some of them range from like loops that you just play over and over until you get sick of it.
Yeah.
And then some are like 3 or 4 minute long songs that just didn't make it.
Again, you're like, yeah, that's not what I want. It
Pretty
doesn't
much.
represent me.
Yeah, exactly. Like I could have switched my style so many times. It was like, oh, EDM, oh, drum and bass. Like, fuck it. RISONAM is like complextro now.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah. So.
What's trending?
Yeah, pretty much. You just latch onto something like vaporwave now. Like, oh, we're gonna down pitch some down to something.
And slow it down, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Because you've actually sort of had a few different names and monikers, and I would say even each moniker kind of represented a different sound. So, I mean, from what I picked up, there was at least 3 different monikers out there. You have Axiom, you have your new one, RISONAM, and lobotomy or lobotomy, or however you want to pronounce it.
Yeah, that's right.
So let's talk about sort of your 3 different artists, your monikers, and the sounds, and sort of the evolution between the 3.
Sure.
So you started off with lobotomy, right? Was that proper pronunciation? Lobotomy? Lobotomy?
It's lobotomy.
Yeah.
But it was derived from lobotomy.
Yeah.
A friend of mine was reading out a definition of a movie called Hypercube.
Okay.
It's like this really old movie, and about some guy who gets a lobotomy, and he read it out as lobotomy. And this was around the time when my friend was making that track, and I'm like, fuck, man, I gotta make a song. And I wasn't just gonna put my name on it, so I'm like, I'm Lobotomy.
Lobotomy, which is cool, right? It's a play on words, it's funny. And for me, or at least what I sort of picked up when I listened to it, was very sample heavy. Or at least that's sort of what I picked up. I mean, maybe there was a bit of MIDI in there, a bit of piano, but for what I picked up, or what I was listening to, it was fairly structured in terms of like sample based.
It was, yeah. It was just a lot of like old, like I downloaded like a folder of just like old funk and soul samples, and then I just kind of went to town and I went to like free hip hop kit.
Yeah, .com, right?
Yeah, and just play around with those. So.
And then make something work. And then Axiom was sort of your second one, and from what I sort of could pick up, that's sort of when you started really focusing more on like actual music, less sample, more instrumentation, more MIDI based production.
Yeah. So
like, tell me sort of what that transition was from like the sample based lobotomy to your Axiom and your more instrumental based, with like that shift in both tone and sound, and then like the production style.
So yeah, the lobotomy stuff was maybe like for a year or 2. It was pretty much I guess now, like looking back, it was like my unofficial SoundCloud kind of like shit posting, where I would just be like throwing up a 2 minute long loop of hip hop.
Yeah, right.
And then so the Axiom stuff, I would say, is more along the lines of me experimenting. Yeah, go ahead. It's more along the lines of getting into the hip hop stuff, but like taking out the bass line and like adding my own bass line, or like adding in some piano. It's like it was like semi-experimental hip hop.
Yeah.
Kind of with a bit of electronic stuff. Like I was so influenced by like Daft Punk and all that stuff, because
I mean, who isn't these days? Right?
Dude, it's like everybody's doing their stuff. Like even when Ram came out, like everybody's doing that like disco stuff
funk now, which I love. I'm couldn't be happier about that.
I cannot complain.
Yeah.
But everybody's doing it. Thank you. So that was like the Axiom stuff. It was like perfect, man. Thank you. So it's like it's the Axiom, I guess, was like a halfway point in my progression of music.
Totally.
Because during that time, I also got into more funk stuff, I guess, when the Daft Punk stuff was coming out. And I found artists like Breakbot and like Louis LaRoche and stuff like that. They were doing like the French house. I'm like, oh, I want to do that. Yeah. So I did. Like I started mixing around, and I was like, oh, I can't really put this out. This isn't Axiom.
Mm-hmm.
This is just, this isn't Lobotomy. This is something different. So then I started doing the Axiom stuff and kind of mixing in between the hip hop and the electronic.
Yeah.
And then that's when we got to RISONAM, like right after that, which was about a year ago, I guess. About a year ago.
Cool. Yeah, because I mean, I went through. You released a couple albums, some Ferris Bueller influenced stuff, which is cool to see. And then RISONAM, proper pronouncing.
Yeah, it's pretty open for anybody, but the official pronunciation is RISONAM.
RISONAM. All right. Cool. And from what I was able to pick up, at least, this is more like a blend of the two. It's like there's definitely samples in there, but he still focuses pretty heavily on like live instrumentation. Like you've sort of like half of Axiom, half of Lobotomy is now this.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say, or?
Well, RISONAM is like the most organic it's ever been. Like that's the most I've ever actually made a composition. Like everything I do now is so far from samples.
Okay, cool.
it's like real drum machine sounds, and it's like real synths and stuff.
Are you finger drumming then, or are you still just like MIDI input, or what?
It would be. I did do some finger drumming, but now I just do it on piano.
Yeah. You just like bind.
Pretty much, yeah. Like I have a MIDI keyboard, but I used to just use like a computer keyboard, and that's not good. It doesn't work very well. The latency is crazy.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like just typing, right? And it's like, oh, there's a tom and a snare. It's like, that doesn't work.
No. Not when you're trying to make rhythm.
No, it's awful. So I do a lot of like drumming and stuff with my MIDI keyboard, and I do everything else. So like, I don't play like a bass guitar, and I don't play saxophone in real life. So when I try to make those sounds,
not everyone's solitaire.
Not everybody is solitaire. Oh my god, that guy is a legend, dude.
So talented. But yeah,
it's like that kind of stuff. Like I want to do that, but I can't because that's solitaire stuff.
That's once in a blue moon kind of people, right? Like
absolutely, man. So thank you. It's like what I'm doing with RISONAM is like the best that I can do with my abilities right now.
Cool.
Which is like key based.
And that's all artists evolve. Now, it was funny to see you actually called out, like, this is the final stage. Like, there are no more names. This is it. Like, this is what I'm gonna be. Is that for certain? Like, what I'm seeing, you get really into fucking dubstep, or I don't know. Who knows what the next thing's gonna be, right? But
yeah.
Whatever Daft Punk releases next, and everyone.
Yeah, their next thing, right? Yeah. No, I think it's the final one.
Yeah.
Because like Axiom, I had to change it because this was the first time I had ever tried to put music on iTunes when I was Axiom. And so I was like wanting to put my album, The Sleep-In Artist, on there. And when I did, I was like, cool, it's submitted. Like, I'm a genius. This is going to be great. So I had this whole thing like set up, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do it on SoundCloud, Google Play. It's going to be great. And then I'm like, okay, they're all submitted. And I go check, and there's like 12 other people named Axiom.
I'm like, fuck.
So like, anytime anybody wants to Google me, got more than that.
Yeah.
It's like they get some other guy too.
Yeah, and the keyboards and God knows what else, right?
There was like some spa relaxation albums and like some French hip hop, and I'm not really trying to get into that field.
No,
so
right.
I'm like, I should probably steer
not
clear.
only my sound.
Yeah, I mean somebody else like copyrighted this.
So now, like, you sort of got an idea what do you guess we hope to accomplish with RISONAM? Now that you're like, I'm organic sounding, I've sort of been trial by fire. I've tried a few things. I know what I want to do, and where do you want your sound to go, or what do you want your sound to be?
I pretty much want my sound just to be as true as possible now.
Yeah.
Like, because I have the ability. I've taught myself how to play music. I'm good.
Cool.
So what I want to do is just like take advantage of that as much as I can, and work with real musicians and produce and compose stuff. And vocalists, yeah, that's something I haven't done much of, which is working with vocals or vocalists.
I've got someone I could give you, but
well, I mean, we'll save that forever.
Yeah. Cool. Here's always a fun question. It's like, how do you explain your sound to your grandma? She's like, well, what do you do with your time, Harrison? And they're like, well, I make music. I'm like, what kind of music? Well, grandma, it's
post-neuro funk wave stuff.
Because I'm sure she knows exactly what that is.
Yeah, it's
picks up one of those words, maybe.
Usually, when the layman's terms come in, I would just be like, oh yeah, it's electronic.
Electronic music.
And then it's like, oh, but what kind? I like electronic, which is like
everything these days.
Yeah, so it's like, well, it's not like that. It's like this, and so I tend to like go into it if they have the time and they're not catching a bus. I'll say like, yeah, it's organic, where it's like I'm playing keys and stuff, and it's not like there's like a really thick distorted drop or like some insane repetitive like.
It's a little more. I don't know if authentic's the right word, but certainly to a forgotten time where it's like, well, yeah, I actually play music. Like I play a piano. It's not, you're taking it back to its roots in that organic, authentic way.
Somewhat that way, yeah. Like I mean, I'm not a legend by any sort, but what I do, relate to in that sense would be somebody like Giorgio Moroder or something.
Yeah.
Where it's like you play and then like you go home and you record your disco album, and it's like this 2-year course of just doing your thing.
Yeah.
So I would say I'm more of like that kind of person, and I would tell like my grandma, I'd like, yeah, I make electronic music for fun.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to make a career out of it. So
I'm not going to be a famous DJ. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't throw me out of the house.
Yeah.
I haven't fucked up. This is what I want to do. It's just fun.
Yeah, it's a hobby, right?
Totally. Yeah. If it's not a hobby and it's not fun, then it's like, why am I doing it?
Yeah. You, I would say that you, maybe or maybe not intentionally, brand with a certain aesthetic, all capitals, spaces in between each letter.
Mm-hmm.
Even carry yourself in such a way. So where did that influence come from? Was it the vaporwave just boom, or where did the 90s mall and all that stuff, colors and triangles, come from?
pretty much came from like the rise of I guess 80s throwback culture.
Yeah.
Like in 2010, everybody was like super into fluorescent colors, and it was like, you know, it was like gym tan laundry in like neon font, and I was like, those are nice colors, but you're an asshole. Like, man. So it was like those kinds of colors, and it was like, oh man, 80s is kind of cool. And I was always that kid in high school who was like finding music, whereas everybody else was like okay with whatever anybody else showed them, or like the radio and stuff like that. So I would always be listening to music and stuff in my own time, and I found some artists like just some like house artists like Louis LaRoche and like Mastercraft and like the Phantom's Revenge and stuff like that. And I was like, this is like funky stuff, and it's like kind of retro, like they're doing that 80s 90s thing.
Yeah. It's all driven by a groove. Pretty
much, yeah. Like there's just like this bass line, and it's like, man, like fuck, man, that's good.
No one does bass lines anymore.
Yeah, fuck, nobody does. So like that whole thing kind of manifested from that and like the foundation of Tumblr.
Yeah.
There was a thing called aesthetic floating around in the early 2000s.
Okay, so that's where it got its origins.
Yeah, I remember the vaporwave scene coming up, and the aesthetic thing, and the you know, the Japanese letters and green stuff, tea and sad boys. That was all coming out, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. What's Floral Shop? Like, I'll listen to that. And I wasn't really part of that scene, but I liked a little bit of it because I do like a small amount of like Japanese culture. Like,
cool.
I like
of course.
I like, you know, the way they talk and the way they write, and I love like the drifting cars and sushi and shit. Like, I'm not like a weeaboo or anything.
Yeah. Or waifu and whatever.
Yeah, like my wife pillows at home right now.
Yeah,
We're
exactly.
gonna meet up after.
Gotta skip date.
Yeah. So it's just like I'll say I like the cool shit about that kind of stuff. It's not like the fanboy, like, oh, we're into slowed down music now. So yeah, I think some of that derived from it. Some of it also came from like when I was like in grade 10 or 11, I used to listen to Keith's Collective like a lot.
Yeah.
And they had that kind of thing where it was like all caps and slashes and dashes, and I was like, man, I want to be legit. Like, that's cool. So I had Axiom at the time, and I'm like, well, I want to do something neat with it, but I can't really, so I'll just capitalize it. So when the rebrand came along for RISONAM, I thought, I can do something with this. You know, I'm in creative control.
Exactly, right.
So, like, you know, type R, and then type space, and then type I, and just do that. You know,
do whatever you want.
Space the hell out of it, man.
That's
so,
cool.
Yeah, in a long roundabout way, I'd say vaporwave mildly influenced my culture.
Totally.
But I was mainly focusing, and still am, on like 80s and 90s.
So yeah, it's your tagline. What is it again? Something born in the 90s.
Oh yeah. What is it? Born in the 90s, love the 80s, live in the 10s. Yeah, something like that.
Represents you well. Doesn't sound too, which is great.
Cool, man. It's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. So I did a deep dive on the Instagram. Seems like you're a pretty big fan of at least photography of Vancouver. What are your thoughts on the scene here right now?
For photography or for music?
Music. We'll go music.
All right. The music scene here is like pretty respectable.
Really? Okay.
I think there's a lot of really good acts out there right now.
Yeah, for sure. In the city, yeah.
Yeah, like it's like, you know, nobody tells you to go to a show, but like if you pick one and it's like an artist is playing you like, you know, the opening acts are usually going to be pretty good.
That's true.
And that's happened like every time here, man. Like there's lots of good music out there. Like there's a band called Feng Shui out there.
I was just literally thinking of them. Man. Yeah, when I saw like the Solitaire concert over at Biltmore.
Yeah.
You're like, holy shit, these guys are awesome. Like
they have a personality and they're funny and
wow, that was a really good show actually. Yeah.
That was a great show. Yeah, I was into that.
Funk's got to come back.
It's like it's on its way, you know.
I think it
There's
is.
like a small resurrection. I think again, like someone like Daft Punk's gonna have to just ramp it up or do something like new wave, kind of like breakbot kind of deal, where it's just like that.
That'd be nice.
It's like pop funk, but it's like you could get deeper into it and kind of take away the sugary bits.
I've been hoping for the last 5 years that would happen, but
it's like it's almost like too late now. Like it's been waiting to come for so long.
I don't know. Who knows? Maybe one day.
Yeah, I think that, and like even maybe some type of like a techno resurgence is in the works. Like at least a
I've
reboot.
seen like Tendencies type stuff, music coming out. Like he's really pushing that. I could see that catching for sure.
Yeah, there's just like, oh, the 909 is still like reputable drum kit. Let's go back to that. You know, so.
Oh, that's cool. So let's get back to music. Let's start taking about like what do you want out of this at the end of it? I mean, you've been going 8 years now, 3.5 of like I'm actually producing, and you know what's the road ahead? What's left for you? What do you want down the way?
Down the way, I pretty much just want to keep doing this.
Yeah.
Just keep it keep it real, you know, keep it honest. Just do music for the fun of it, and keep it like true to myself, I guess.
Yeah.
That's my yearbook quote now. It's
nice. Okay.
a little calligraphy with the hearts on the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I just want it to be like an outlet for me to escape to come back to. You know, I never want it to be like bigger than me, or like, I don't know. I don't even
do it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, like the wrong reasons of just promotion and just like, oh, there's a money attached, or like, oh, there's fans. You know, I can't let those people down. Like, I'm sure I'll probably lose some fans in the coming years because like nobody likes one artist's entire discography.
No,
right?
for a long time. Yeah.
You know, again, back to Daft Punk. Jesus.
Unless you're Daft Punk.
Every album they do, it's like they lose a bunch of people because it's like, oh, go back to your homework stuff. Like, we want that dope stuff. So.
So like humans after all.
Yeah, like I was one of the few who did, and I was like, man, like I'm kind of divided now. But that whole thing is like I want to keep RISONAM like an evolving thing.
Yeah.
And I care about who comes with me, but I'm okay if you dislike it after a while.
Cool. And then anything you want to promote? Anything releases coming up that you want to give a shout out for?
Well, Keith's Collective, something else we got coming out there in July area, maybe August. We've got a new EP on the way.
Okay.
So it's not a full-length album, but there's about 5 tracks.
Cool. What's it? We've got a title yet?
Yeah, so the EP is called Heart Weight.
Heart Weight.
Yeah, and it's 5 tracks about the past 6 or 7 months.
Okay,
so,
cool.
Yeah, just an evolution of what's been happening.
Sweet. Well, I want to say thanks for coming by, and we're going to take a look out for August when we have a small about 5 EP coming out.
Something like that.
Thanks so much.
No worries, man.